Hey, this is Billy Frades. In this Kindle Q&A video, I want to answer a very common question that I get all the time, which is how can I get my Kindle books written for me and how can I get them written inexpensively? I get this a lot, and there's a lot that I have to share on this subject. First, I think it's really important to understand there's really two different ways of doing it. Number one is you can be an author and you can write your own books and also do the publishing at the same time. And there's nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of great authors out there that love writing. They enjoy being an author. There's nothing wrong with that. If writing is your skill set, you enjoy it, and you want to maybe publish books under your own name, market them under your own name, and that's completely nothing wrong with that. So that's the one strategy. The other strategy, on the other hand, is just focusing more on the publishing and the marketing. Just like a big publishing company out there, such as Harper Collins, Penguin, all the big ones, they're essentially a publishing company that works with different writers. And in a lot of cases, they work with ghostwriters, they hire writers, they maybe even buy already existing books out there, they own the rights to them, and they have a team in place. And they focus solely on the publishing and the marketing of books. Okay, so they're involved in the Kindle publishing aspect. And I think that appeals to a lot of people because, a lot of you maybe that are watching this video, maybe you're not a great writer, maybe your English isn't that great, or maybe you just don't enjoy it. So those are the two different methods out there. Now, I've done both, and I've had experience with both and success with both as well. I've written maybe, a few books of my own books, some of which are under my own name personally, others that are under pen names and pseudonyms, and I've also outsourced and published a few other books under different pen names, pseudonyms, but I didn't write them myself. I hired ghostwriters. I bought books from other companies or writers out there. I own all the rights to it. I just pay a flat fee for that. And again, like I said, I just focus on the marketing and the publishing of that. Now, while I enjoy doing both, I enjoy writing, and that's a skill that I have. What I learned though is that I can leverage myself and actually make more money by focusing more so on the publishing. And what I mean by that is, let's say it takes you a certain amount of time to write your own book. Everybody has a different speed and pace, but writing can be time consuming and it's a very creative, adventure. What I realized though is that in the amount of time that I was spending to write my own books, I could outsource and hire ghostwriters to write books for me. And the pace that it might take me to write one of my own books myself, I can hire, ghostwriters to write 5 or 10 books for me. So in the same amount of time, I can 10x, my speed and implementation, just the speed in which I could publish books and make more money. And so that's why, I kind of made the transition to both focus more on the publishing and the marketing side because I enjoy that more. Just like in the music industry, you see a lot of great artists out there that can sing, they're very talented, or even actors as well, very talented actors. In the movie industry, a lot of them make the transition to producing or maybe even creating their own record label, because what they realize that when you have a record label, you can assign talent under you and you can actually make a lot more money because when you're the artist, it's very time consuming. When you focus and take a step out of that, when you focus on being in the record label or publishing company, now you're in a position where you have a team and you put more albums out there and you can put more books out there and essentially scale up a lot faster. Okay, so that's why I prefer just the publishing and marketing route. So, but again, there's nothing wrong with either. Both are very common. I've heard a lot of people out there that get upset that the fact that others are, maybe hiring other writers to write books for them and things like that. This has been going around for 100 years. Ghostwriters are very common in the writing and the publishing industry. These big publishing companies, they hire ghostwriters, they interview celebrities, top business people. It's not like these business people are actually sitting there writing their own book. A lot of cases they're just being interviewed by a writer, and they're just anonymous behind the scenes. And, the actual celebrity or the person that's having the book written, they just pay a flat fee. In fact, I know companies out there where you can pay $150,000. They'll write the book for you and they'll essentially create a New York Times bestseller book for you. You can buy yourself to the top of the New York Times best-selling list. It's very, very common, okay? Now, when it comes to getting your Kindle books written for you and getting it done inexpensively, there's a few things I'll share with you on that. Number one is you always have to make sure that your books are quality, okay? I really want to emphasize that because I think a lot of people, when it comes to outsourcing books or hiring ghostwriters, a lot of people don't care about quality, and they're just really, they really care about the price and what they're investing, and they want to get, stuff done really, really cheap and inexpensively. And so therefore they're left with just a really low quality book, and they go out there and they publish it and they try to market it. And sure enough, maybe you can make money in the short term. Maybe you can have some success with that, but it's really just a matter of time before that is not going to be sustainable and profitable over the long term. Okay, so quality, I really want to emphasize that because that's the most important thing that you have to know in terms of making your Kindle book successful over the long run. Now, at the same time, what I've also noticed among people that focus on publishing is that there are perfectionists with this as well. And I also seen a lot of people, they go ahead and they invest thousands and thousands of dollars in getting a Kindle book written for them. And, they publish it, they market it, but sure enough, it doesn't sell. And in my experience from doing that as well, because I spent over almost a year writing a book, I invested in a lot of books as well. I always try to keep my expenses low and to a minimum because I want to mitigate my risk. If it sucks to have to go out there and spend thousands of dollars on something and then get no return back. I'd much rather keep that investment that costs relatively low and manageable for myself and publish something that is high quality and proves and validates that there's a market there, this is profitable, and that I'm on the right track, and then go back and maybe invest in a lot more money to the book. So I think that's an important concept I want to share as well. Make sure it's quality, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be a Stephen King bestseller or whatever. And you can always improve the book and make it better and better over a period of time, which is what I really encourage as well. Now, another thing that's worked well, for me, with that being said, is focusing more on starting off with a shorter book, especially if you're brand new to Kindle publishing. A shorter book can basically be maybe a 30-page book that covers a specific subject and is more like a beginner's guide to something. Okay, so it's not this advanced, high-level type of book. Again, the writing doesn't have to be Stephen King or something like that, but it's just more of a short read. In fact, on Amazon, they have a category for short reads. So shorter books are totally acceptable. I know a lot of books out there, they're 10 pages long. I know children's books are relatively short. I know a lot of fiction short stories as well. So there's a lot of, high quality books that are shorter. So your book, I want to kind of dispel the myth that you have to have a 200-page book, because a lot of people believe, and they're stuck in that mindset, that the longer a book is, the higher quality it is. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. I can point out a lot of books that are 400 pages that are a complete garbage and basically just a bunch of words, and you can kind of summarize it, in 10 minutes. And I also know books that are very shorter, 15 pages, 20 pages, 30 pages. In fact, a lot of the Harvard books, I don't know if you've seen these, but I recently read a great one called Managing Great Oneself by I forget his name, one of the greatest business managers of all time. It's a short book. I don't know how many pages it is, but it's like this mini pages, and you can read the book in less than 30 minutes. And that was a high quality book. I mean, very powerful. A lot of top business people read that book. Another great example is this book that I love called It Works, and I think that one is like only 10 pages, and it's like this big as well. You read it in like 10 minutes, and that book changes people's lives. So there's a lot of books out there, like I said, that are short, that are powerful, that are right to the point, and are great quality books. And there's also these long ones that, in my opinion, aren't that great. So that's the first thing I want to emphasize with when it comes to the quality, and kind of dispel and just change your level of thinking around that. A lot of people have been learned to accept that the publishing world has changed a lot, and it is changing. A lot of the old school authors, publishers, they're still kind of caught up in the old mentality around that. But Amazon and Kindle is changing the whole landscape. They're making it so that anybody can be a publisher. Anybody can self-publish their own books and their own work. they can put it up on Amazon, and they have restrictions and in the length of the book. I think the minimum, last time I checked, is about 2,500 words. But they're making it available for anyone to publish whatever they want. So you can publish something that's low quality, high quality. That's just a self-publishing world. You don't have to go through traditional publishers and stuff anymore. So it's shifted in a big way, and also the market has shifted as well, because most of people that are online, most consumers, they don't want to read and consume long books. There's a market for that, but the way that things are is people like to consume things in shorter formats, like YouTube videos, courses, audiobooks, things of that nature. Even a lot of people love short reads. That's why Amazon created that category for short reads, because again, it's very, very common. So my philosophy and what I recommend to people that join my program is do a high quality book. Let's not make it this long book. Try and keep it shorter, maybe around 30 pages. Usually most of my books are around 5,000 words. So it'll cover a certain subject, or like a beginner's introductory to a certain subject. And these are also books that I'm not selling for a lot of money either. I'm selling in at a price range of 99 cents to $2.99. So it's not like someone's investing $10 or $20 for these books. So that's what's worked fairly well for me. And again, the benefit of that is you're keeping your costs low. You can enter into a market rather inexpensively. There's not that much of a risk involved with it. And if the book fails, for example, it's not going to mean that big of a deal. It's not going to hurt you financially, like investing thousands of dollars into something. I mean, that could be really, really detrimental and painful for you to have that risk. But at the same time, if your book sells and it does well, that's when you really want to improve the book, because whenever I have a book that sells, that's a passive income stream. That's an asset you want to protect, and you want to make it better and better, and so that it'll continue to sell, and you can branch off into audio books, paperback books. And really, I like Kindle because it's kind of like a platform to start with, and then once you've proven that you're into a great niche and market, then you can expand it into a series of books. And there's so much more you can do. But again, I like to always start off small, especially if you're a beginner, not just starting out in this process. Okay. So now that I got that out there, how do you get books written inexpensively? Okay, there's a number of options for this. One is if you hire someone from North America. In the US, for example, typically you're going to pay a lot of money for a book, and it does depend on the writer and, of course, their quality, their reputation, their credentials, all that sort of stuff. Every writer will charge different rates based on what they're worth and all that. Obviously, if you want to hire like Stephen King, to that quality caliber, or some of the top, New York Times best-selling authors, or some of the ghostwriters behind the scenes that have written a lot of those books, that can be over $100,000 to write a greater book for you. So that could be very, very costly. But again, you don't really need to have that level of book, and not unless you're an expert and you really want to brand yourself. That might be something that I might do someday for myself, is hire someone like that to produce, actually become like a New York Times best-selling author. But basically, in the United States, there's going to be a whole range. Obviously, it's going to cost you a lot more money because you're paying someone in US dollars. What I found that if you go overseas and you hire someone in countries like outside of the United States, maybe countries in Asia, like the Philippines, you can find some high quality writers there that know English, speak English, they studied English in a university, they have great writing skills, they can do research for you as well, and they can produce a quality book for you. A short read, relatively inexpensive. What typically might cost you like $1,000 in the U.S. to get maybe a short book written, you can go to the Philippines and get a short read, 30-page book on a great subject that's really well written for less than $100. So that's pretty amazing. And one of the reasons for that is, again, comes from the currency exchange, as well as just what you can. You just get a lot more for what you pay for in a country like that. I think in the Philippines, I read somewhere, the Philippines minimum wage is like 56 cents an hour in US dollars, so it's a lot different than living in the US or North America. Your money goes a lot farther there. So if you can leverage your money in that way, hire someone overseas that can write and is skilled and can produce a quality book for you, and then that's one of the most inexpensive ways to do it. A lot of my freelancers, my graphic designers, my programmers, my web designers, virtual assistants, they're all overseas. The Philippines and countries like that, because I can hire someone for $3 an hour that is just as good as hiring someone in the United States that might cost $10 an hour. So if you can get a bargain like that overseas, then I say why not go for it. Now, one objection people have is is that person's writing going to be high quality if you hire from the Philippines, and how is their English going to be, how is their writing style, things like that. That's also really important as well. What you'll find is, just like anywhere, you're going to find some writers that are low quality, that aren't that great at writing, and you'll have others that are really high quality that can produce great quality work. I like to use a website called Upwork.com. Okay, Upwork.com. There's a few companies that I like to use as well, that I only share with some of my students, and the reason for that is because these companies, they hire writers and they have teams. They have editors, proofreaders, all that stuff. They train them and all that stuff from all over, and if I openly share them, they're just gonna get delayed on their work, and all my students are gonna hate me for that. So I only keep that amongst my students that actually paid to be part of my course. It took me a lot of time to find these writers, but one simple solution is Upwork.com, which is basically a website where you hire freelancers from all over the world. So what you can do is go to Upwork.com and post a job there. Post a job that you're looking for a freelance writer. If you write a short Kindle book for you that's maybe 5,000 words on this subject, you can make the title of the book. Obviously you work with them, give them certain information you want included in the book. The more obviously the better. You can allow them, if you like, to just research the subject. So if you're picking like a simple subject, like let's say meditation, let's say it's a beginner's guide on meditation. That's something that, one of these writers, they don't have to be an expert on meditation. They go out there and they can research a lot of the stuff, put a lot of great resources together, and create a really great book for you. If you're trying to create a Kindle book on something that requires a higher level of expertise, then in that case, it would definitely benefit you to try and find someone that has that level of expertise that can write it for you. But that's why, again, I like to stay with the short reads, the simple guides. I don't want to go into anything that's that advanced unless I'm an actual expert on that subject. So you go to Upwork, you post a job. What you're going to find is you're going to have people that are going to bid from all over the world. And a lot of people are going to say, hey, I can do this job for $30. Other people will say I can do it for $1,000. Others will say I'll do it for $80, $100, $10,000, right? And you're going to get people bidding from all over the world based on, again, what their value is, what they charge, the quality of their work, all that sort of stuff. The great thing is that they're all bidding against each other and they're trying to compete to get your job. And the great thing with Upwork is you can go through all these options, you can interview them, and you can also look at their portfolios. You can actually talk to them and say, let me see the quality of writing that you produce. Can you send me some books that you've already written, some articles you've already written, or some blog posts? So you want to do your due diligence to make sure that they're of a high quality writer and that you're happy with the quality of their work. So that gives you the ability to see and kind of judge based on the quality, kind of work of someone that you might be happy with. And again, all the different prices are going to range from, they're going to be totally different. You can get some great bargains as well, things, you can get them really inexpensively, and a lot of them, they want to build their portfolio on Upwork. So on Upwork, another great thing is that you can see the previous jobs that someone worked. You can see their feedback, their ratings, and that's really useful too, because you can see, based on the past employers, the past jobs that they've done, what other people have said about them as well. So that can help you make a decision on a quality writer, someone that you want to work with. And again, a lot of them, too, especially the ones that are starting out, they want the work, they need the work, and then in a lot of cases they'll do it inexpensively for that reason. So that's basically one of they're just kind of like the simplest way that you can start to find a writer to write your book for you. You can use site like Upwork, when it comes to that, you're paying them a flat fee or whatever, you negotiate them with Upwork to buy the book from them so that you own the rights to it. So in which case you can go ahead and publish it. And I actually have some books written, some agreements that I have inside my course. This is something you can send the ghostwriter just so that they can sign it, and it has an actual agreement saying that you own the rights. You're transferring the rights of this book from them to you. I actually paid a lawyer to write this for me. It cost a couple of $100s to do that, and I give it to my students for free. So that's another kind of like measure of protection as well. And I will say, whenever you go this route, you're gonna have some, good experiences and some bad experiences. Some when you hire a writer and they might not deliver on time, or they aren't as reliable as you thought, or maybe they have plagiarized something, which is something that you have to be careful about as well. When it comes to plagiarization, I've used a website called copyscape.com, which is great because you can just put in the book and it'll tell you whether it's been plagiarized or not. So again, you want to make sure your books are original. It's the only way that they'll be able to be published on Kindle anyway. So that's the world that we live in. It gives us the ability to find someone anywhere in the world and get a great book written inexpensively. So to summarize this video, you can get your Kindle books done inexpensively. You can use websites like Upwork. I like to hire people overseas. I like to make sure that my expenses are low and focus more on a short read. Make sure your books are high quality, because that's what's gonna be sustainable and make you money in the long term. If your Kindle book gets a negative review, in which case, trust me, it will. Every Kindle book out there gets a negative review, whether it's again Harry Potter or the Bible. Any great book out there, they all get negative reviews. But you want to use those negative reviews as an opportunity to improve your book, make it better and better and better. And that's why I encourage everyone to do is focus on making your book better. Use negative reviews as feedback, and obviously, if you do get a negative one, you want to improve it right away. You don't want to wait till it gets several negative reviews, because at that point it can really hurt your rankings and your sales on Amazon and your book copies as well. So quality. I want to emphasize that. But it doesn't have to be a super long book. So I say give it a try. If you want to know more about this, maybe hit me up or go to my website, kmoneymasterypro.com, where everything is taught step by step. We share companies that we use, that we personally tested, and that we love to work with, and that produce great quality books. And I like to work with companies, honestly, more than freelance writers, because the companies, they have already spent the time to find them, to hire them, to interview them, to train them. They edit and proofread your books. They format it for Kindle. They just save you so much time. Whereas I found it pretty time consuming to have to, post a job, interview people, hire them, and all that sort of stuff. And the great thing with working with a company is you can publish a lot more books. If you only have one writer working for you, let's say you want to publish 10 books, it might take them a while to produce 10 books for you. But if you work with a company, they might have 100 writers working for them, and so they can produce 10 books in the same amount of time that the one writer is writing one book. Again, it comes down to scaling and leveraging your time. That's why I enjoy publishing company, because it gives you the ability to do a lot more. I'll just give you a quick analogy. Let's say you're a contractor building a house. When you're a contractor, in my opinion, the worst way of doing it is trying to do everything yourself, by yourself, trying to create the architecture and do the flooring and the roofing, the electricity and the plumbing and the painting, doing all that sort of stuff. That's a lot of work to build a house. Whereas the smarter contractor is the one that kind of manages and oversees the project, and he hires an electrician, a plumber, a roofer, someone to do the foundation, someone to do the drywall, the kitchen, the bathtubs, all that sort of stuff for him. And because he's working on the business and not in the business, this then it gives him the ability to build 10 houses at once, and you can build and scale a lot faster because he's working smarter and not harder. So I want to leave you with that, because that's typically the way I think in my publishing business, as well as every business that I own. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and any and the answers that I commonly get. Make sure to subscribe to me for more videos, and I'll see you soon.